How's everybody doing tonight? That was a great game to watch today. That was an awesome preseason debut by the 49ers. 6 months. And yeah, that was fantastic. That was fantastic football to watch. Great offensive line play. Trey Lance looked like the second coming. Our kicker, he's like, he could hit anything. He's super accurate. No, actually, none of that stuff happened. We look like shit. I usually don't swear on my show, but man, Bash,
Oh,
whatever could go wrong did go wrong. Yes, it's preseason. I understand, but you have to think, all right, so some of these guys are going to be backups on this team. Some of these guys might need to do spot duty during the season and come in. Like you said off camera before we started, there's really nothing positive to say about this game. What are your overall feeling? Do you wish you could just like erase it from your brain and start over again?
I'll say this: real talk. Watching that intro of yours before the show kicked off was just more amusing than watching the game. I was bouncing my head. Rock's not my thing, but it was like cool. It was like a cool little beat intro, and I'm like, oh, I'm digging this. I'm digging this. I'm like, well, sure wasn't digging the game, man. We're waiting all week long, all training camp long for all these games to start. And oh yes, it's finally here. I usually go to church, and I went to the early mass, which is 11 a.m. for me. And I was hoping the game would be on Saturday, but it was on Sunday. And I was pumped up to watch this thing. And not that I was expecting us to like a blowout, like a 40-0 thing, because I hate the Raiders. I grew up hating the Raiders.
Hello,
And
Laura.
What up, Laura? I grew up hating the Raiders, and I know how things could be shaky. I was kind of worried, I'll be honest. Last time I was thinking, what if it's one of those shaky Kyle Shanahan shitty preseason games? And I wish I didn't even think about that, because lo and behold, the nightmare happened again, where Kyle just doesn't care who he has as a first string quarterback in that game, and he just gives that play, whatever quarterback that is, just gives them trash to work with. And you get what you get. That's it.
I have a couple lines of thought on this game, and I'm sure a lot of 49er fans do. You could call me a Brock Purdy guy, all that and whatever, but I wanted to see Trey Lance do well. And before you get into really what Trey Lance was doing, that backup offensive line to start the first game, if any of our starters go down at any point in this season, we're screwed. I mean, that was as bad of an offensive line performance that I've seen in. I mean, I've been watching football 30 years. That was just wow. I mean, Trey at some points didn't even have a chance to blink. He had guys in his face constantly. He couldn't set his feet. It was bad. Guys were getting blown up and pushed into him. It was very reminiscent of, just games where 49er quarterbacks get hurt, where the offensive line just doesn't block at all and guys get clean shots. I can't pick out
like the Eagles game.
Like the Eagles game. I couldn't pick out one thing good that offensive line did in this game. They couldn't even block. Like there was a couple run plays that stretched outside that looked promising to start, and their defensive line just got consistent penetration and shut everything down. So, like I said, it's hard to evaluate because it's preseason. The 49ers don't really care about preseason. Kyle Shanahan doesn't care about preseason, but I go into games looking for certain things. Certain position groups, defensive line, wide receiver, skill position, maybe corner, maybe an edge rusher here or there. And there wasn't really much of anything positive to say about this game at all. Wow, that offensive line is going to get someone hurt. It's a good thing we might carry 4 quarterbacks this year, Bash, because it looks like we're going to need them.
I remember, I'm going to say the name that everybody hates, Grant Cohn. I remember Grant Cohn. I think it was on with Larry Krueger a few weeks ago. It was on with somebody. He made the statement that this 49er team, they went the cheap route. They decided to go for extra quarterbacks rather than go for extra offensive linemen or build offensive lineman depth. And it's true. Sure, they paid less to bring in those quarterbacks. They could have paid more to bring in the offensive line, but you get what you pay for at the end of the day. I hate to say this. I hate to be that guy. I really, really do. I'd never want to be that guy that says, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. But if you don't believe me, you can go ahead and watch a Niner Sickness podcast draft day show. I was on there live with Jess and Niner Sickness, and we were having fun. And 3 times when we made those picks in the third round, especially the time we picked Moody and Latu, I was furious because a tackle from Ohio State, DeJuan Jones, was available, who many people told me on Twitter, don't hype this guy up that the 49ers will get him because he'll never be available when we're drafting round 3. They were saying high second round, low first round. He was available all 3 times we picked in round 3. And people then I had people on Twitter tell me, well, we passed up on him because he's not a Kyle Shanahan guy and he doesn't fit Kyle Shanahan's system. Well, I got news for you. I just tweeted something out recently, and this guy has been killing it in camp. He's killing it in preseason. He's a mountain of a man. He's huge. And I would have loved to see him out there protecting Trey Lance's blind side, protecting Darnold's blind side, whoever is taking snaps. Offensive line is so important. What's in the trenches is what matters. I don't understand why Kyle Shanahan does not accept this as a fact, because it's one of the most simple things in football, and we just totally overlook it, and it's really pissing me off.
You know, I'm the type of guy that is okay with not ever seeing offensive linemen get drafted in the first round because I just think it's boring and it's not good for content, and it's just not good. Excited to talk when you're talking to other 49er fans about the draft, the things you want to talk about is like, yeah, we got this quarterback or we got this stud receiver or this pass rusher. Nobody really cares about offensive line. And I feel like the 49ers have that same kind of feeling towards offensive linemen because, you know, we had one of our worst games pass protecting against the Eagles last year in a game where our starting quarterback got hurt. And yeah, it's partly was his fault. He took too long to make a read, whatever. All I'm saying is like, offensive line is boring and it's not talked about and it's never really mentioned unless they're doing horrible like tonight. But man, like I said, if anybody goes down, it's going to be scary. Now it's preseason. Nobody's really, I mean, I was listening to the broadcast and a lot of people were complaining it was a pro Raiders broadcast. It was a Raiders broadcast. It was a 49ers game on a Raiders broadcast on NFL Network. So for all the people complaining, say, man, they sound like Raiders fans. They are.
That's how it is in the preseason. Every broadcasting team does their preseason games.
The Bills do the same thing here in Rochester.
Every team does it.
It's a local channel with really crappy guys doing play-by-play. I thought their play-by-play was fine. They were in love with all their players. I want to transition to Trey, okay? And I am big on Brock Purdy, but I've also said throughout the offseason, for anybody who actually listens to me, unlike some people that comment in my comment section and tell me that, you know, I'm a hater and, you know, I shouldn't make content because I just used it for clicks or whatever. Listen, if there was anybody who wanted Trey Lance to come out and have a really good preseason debut, it was me. Because I want to know that whoever the starter is, that we have a backup that we could go to and we won't miss a beat. Now, you evaluate this game, you got to say offensive line had a big hand in how bad he played. But there were some plays where he still looks like a guy who hasn't played much football. He likes to hold on to the ball a little bit, even if it's a half a second. You watch the Raiders quarterback, he hits his back foot and he lets it go. He hits his back foot, he lets it go. He knows where his reads are. Like Trey just has a little bit of like a slowness to it. And that is really, a lot of that has to do with just lack of playing, lack of time on the field. And it's unfortunately the Niners, and we keep talking about this, the Niners are in a window right now where like they can't wait for that. And it sucks. And maybe it was the offensive line. A lot of it was the offensive line. But I saw some things that reminded me of just why they were so gun-ho on Brock Purdy. Is just his ability to run the offense efficiently. Yes, he has a really weak arm and he's small and all those things you can crack on him for. But the one thing that offense did last year when he was in there was be efficient. You know, it's probably going to be a lot different this year, though. I think we're going to see teams kind of scheme up on Brock Purdy. And that's why today's outcome was so disappointing, because I just thought that, you know what, if we're going to go to this guy at some point in the season, he's going to end up taking over as the quarterback. I want to see the improvement that everybody's been saying he's been having this offseason. And I really haven't seen it.
Well, I mean, I saw improvements in certain things he did. I mean, again, he wasn't given much. I mean, there was that. Well, he for example, people say he can't throw the short passes. His short passes looked a whole lot better. There were times he dug us out of holes. I mean, was it right before the half? We only had 26 seconds left. I thought they were just going to kneel on the ball. And then some BS happened where he got rushed or he got sacked again. But then lo and behold, the next play, he makes a big throw down the field. Oh, no, my bad. My bad. It almost got picked off, actually. It went straight. It was like a Jimmy G type throw where he threw it to the middle of the field and some linebacker straight up dropped his interception. Thank God he caught a little break there. But then soon after, he connected on a big throw down the field. And then he brings us to field goal range right in the middle of the field for Jake Moody to fucking kick it. And I'm like, okay, well, this is the guy that everybody's been saying has been blowing the doors off in camp with all his amazing, powerful field goals. And he's in a fucking dome with no fucking elements, air conditioned and all, beautiful Las Vegas. And he just woofs it. I'm like, this is the guy who we didn't draft my offensive lineman for and said we got this kicker. Like I was so pissed when that happened. But I mean, in certain situations, like on that drive, when Trey's back was against the wall, he actually did look pretty good. I mean, again, he didn't have the greatest people to throw to. What running game did he really have? I was really excited about TDP being in the lineup because I saw TDP the one day I went to a practice, and he, other than Christian McCaffrey, TDP was my favorite running back in that practice. He looked really, really nice. And everybody's been saying a lot of good things about Tyron Davis-Price in general. And it's just like the holes weren't there from the running game, barely any holes for Jordan Mason or TDP in general, which usually helps the quarterback develop an offense. And I mean, we saw there were a few times. I get it. You say where Lance kind of looked tentative and could have thrown. The only problem is I didn't have the all 22 where I could have really looked and said, okay, well, he could have thrown here or through there. I know on one where he got sacked, one play where he got sacked like right away after, like it was like he did one little pump really, really quick. And it was I counted on that play. It was barely 2 seconds in the pocket. And he was looking towards Dwelly's way. Dwelly had two guys surrounding him. So I get it. It was a risk. I don't know who else he could have thrown to again because I didn't see the all 22. And it is important to look at things like that. But sure, there were times where Lance kind of looked a little standoffish, but there were times where he looked really good and I could tell he looked better. And I could tell he looked improved. So it was a mixed bag for me with Lance. I gave Lance a C. We were on Twitter Spaces in the third quarter during the game, and we were just giving grades. And some people said C minus. A lot of people said C. Some guy who I thought was a Lance hater gave Lance a C plus. So it is what it is. But my complaint is, did Kyle prepare him? I mean, he only had fucking 2 snaps on Friday,
right?
Like one pass attempt. I mean, this is the guy you're going to put out there. I don't know what Kyle thinks, what goes on his brain sometimes. He drives me crazy, dude.
There's got to be a point though, somewhere down the line where we got to stop blaming Kyle, and we got to start giving accountability to players eventually. Because in the end, Kyle coaches, but players still got to go out there and play. This is his 3rd year here, and every year he's had to set an excuse why he hasn't performed well, whether it's his finger or whatever. This was his audition, albeit with a bad offense. I would love to see him with the starting O-line with some weapons. And see if he still continues. Yeah, and to see if he still continues to struggle. He just, for some reason, I don't know what it is. He looks, I don't know what it is. Like, I can't say unprepared. It just seems like the game moves kind of fast for him still. And it's not even a knock on him. They drafted a guy 3 years ago who was a known project to a Super Bowl winning caliber team, and essentially have given him no time to develop because they're a Super Bowl caliber team. So they have to kind of be in win now mode. So why draft a guy like that to a team like this? If you're going to draft anybody, draft a guy who can sit on a team with, a guy who can play on a team with a really bad roster. Kind of like a Trevor Lawrence, you know what I mean? Like Trevor Lawrence is growing with that team. Eventually, I would like to see him kind of take his next step too. But like, I don't know, man. Like, I want to be fair. I want to be fair with him, and I want to see him in another game. I don't know how they're going to play the next game, but even he took a lot of credit for some of his mistakes today. So,
but I mean, can he play with Ayuk and Ayuk practices with him off the field all the time?
Right.
Ayuk's one of his best friends who really sticks his neck out for him. He's even practiced with Debo off the field. It's like, When can we see him with these weapons? When Jordan Mason, I was so happy when this happened. There was a play where Trey Lance had the pass rush somewhere in the first quarter, and dudes were going at him. I was like, oh shit, what's going to happen next? And they threw off a little nice feathery dump off to Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason had blockers in front of him. He probably could have ran it for 20 yards. He fucking drops it right to him, dude. That really pissed me off. There was some other play where Latu dropped some easy one from Lance, and like little shit like that. Like, and then of course he got the big break on the when he tried to rifle it to Conley in the end zone. I thought it was a catch by Conley.
So
it was so fast.
The way I was like, I thought it was a catch in the back of the end zone. And then all of a sudden I see Conley like turn around and the ball's not there. And then all of a sudden the camera pans down and everybody's patting Dwelly on the head.
That was a goofy, lucky play. I get it. You know, it was cool for us. Hey, I'll take that break with all the crap that we dealt with earlier in the game with the not being able to breathe, you know, whenever the quarterback took a snap. I mean, so it is what it is, you know. But you know, I'm sure it'd be not, you know what? I don't know if I think it's like every preseason we have that one game where everything just looks like ass and it just looks terrible. But I remember like in the Harbaugh era and in other areas that we had where we'd have these strings of preseason games where every running back we fucking threw out there was just tearing shit up. And like quarterbacks would go out there and look okay. And it wasn't that bad. Like you get to see a preseason game of the Kyle Shanahan era where everything just looks so smooth and sweet and beautiful. And it's like, I don't know, but I'll say this about the offensive line. As bad as offensive lines have looked in the Shanahan era, at least in our winning seasons, that is, by the time the regular season comes around, maybe by week 2 or week 3 or 4, the offensive line starts to look like a real offensive line. It takes a while. I don't know why we have to wait that long to get to that step. And I don't know why we pass up on so many big name dudes and who were studs in college that we can develop and create. I mean, we're so proud of having Trent Williams. Trent Williams, oh, they named him on the top 100 players and all this crap. And you guys are so happy to talk about Trent Williams. Wouldn't you want to have a fucking Trent Williams on the opposite side of the offensive line? Wouldn't that be fucking nice? Like, what are we doing to ourselves with this fucking mediocrity? I don't. The Kyle just kills me with this bullshit, dude.
To me, Bash,
we can win a fucking Super Bowl. We can win a Super Bowl if we have. We could win a Super Bowl if we have studs on the other side of the line. That's all I got to say.
I feel like he's setting himself to have an excuse just in case we don't do it this year. I feel like the Niners do this every year. They always have some blatant hole on their team that they don't address. That's this big problem. They go through the season. They don't win this. They don't win the championship game or the Super Bowl. And then they're like, okay, we got to go and address this. And I feel like maybe they didn't see somebody in the third round that was worth drafting compared to the guys that they had on their roster, which I find kind of hard to believe. Like you said, there's that one guy that you were talking about that you really wanted to go and get. If the Niners fall short this year, if they don't draft an offensive lineman in the first round next year, as much as I told you before, I hate offensive lineman drafts, like drafts where we go after like offensive linemen because I think it's boring. If they don't go after an offensive line, we're going to have to do some sort of boycott where me and you just run around like 49ers headquarters naked or something. And with like flags that say draft O-line or something, just something really scary to get people to like pay attention or something. I don't know.
It's not the sexy pick. I get it. It's not the sexy pick, but you're going to have to address it somewhere or the other, whether it be the draft or free agency or whatever. It is what it is. I was going to add something else too, but I just totally forgot. But yeah.
I want to talk about a comment that Ryan made earlier. It was one of our next topics. A positive that came out of this game. One positive I did see, and I know you agree, was Ronnie Bell. He looks like a professional receiver, even with crap quarterbacks. What was your takeaway with Ronnie Bell, other than the tipped interception where it hit his hands? But it seems like all the 49ers receivers do that. They all have brick hands at some point in the game. So what was your take on Ronnie Bell? I thought he looked good.
Ronnie Bell looked okay to me. He didn't look terrible. I didn't think he looked amazing, but 3 catches for 58 yards. We'll look at the stat line right now. I've heard a lot of good things in camp. At times I heard he's made some amazing catches. I haven't seen those amazing catches with my own personal eyes yet. Hopefully we do. My thing about Ronnie Bell is I just don't get why we had him as a return man. He's not a burner. I get it. I get it that Ray McCloud is out and he got hurt. And it does open up doors for other players and gives other people opportunities. But I don't know if I guess the special team coach that's putting these guys in these positions. I'm assuming it's him and not Shanahan. I don't know what Ronnie Bell's returning kicks for. And the main reason why I'm saying this is because, well, eventually we saw him was Deshaun Jameson, who's actual cornerback, has been making waves in camp as a corner. But I was telling people way back when we signed this guy as an undrafted free agent on Twitter, I was posting his highlights in the return game. I said, dude, this guy is an electric return man. We better find a way to get this guy in the field and return some punts and kicks for us. So they finally started using him.
He looked amazing in this game. He looked amazing. It sucks that every single return he had was called back by penalty.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Man, I'll tell you what, man. I'm glad we have the preseason to freaking figure all this stuff out because, man, the 49ers looked undisciplined and they're like just if I'll put it like this. If the Raiders' peak is this game right here, they got problems. If the Niners' worst game and their cellar or their basement of like their season is this game, then we're gonna be okay. You know what I mean? So like it was really bad and ugly, and we sucked really hard, and it was abysmal. But at the same time, like it is the preseason. We still got 2 more weeks and then some time to get some things, get our house in order, as people would say. But the offensive line is very, very scary. I wonder if they make a move post cuts, sign a veteran, like a waiver wire pickup. I thought the defensive line, other than Clelin Ferrell, got absolutely no pressure whatsoever.
Oh my God. I know where you're going to go with the defensive line. I already know where you go with this.
And then our favorite guy,
ta-da,
Mr. My balls are bigger than yours, Javon Kinlaw, once again getting moved around like he weighs 185 pounds in the trenches.
He was getting worked.
The defensive line interior in this game, the backups were abysmal. Like they were getting 10 yards a shot easily, 8 to 10 yards a shot every single play. And Kinlaw, I just got to get lower. Yeah. Why did you lose all that weight? You should have kept some of it on, because if you were on skates before, oh my God, dude, like I don't understand all this love of like, we got to give him another opportunity. No, we don't. And he sucks. And I was hoping he wouldn't suck, because it would have been nice to have him as depth. But this guy's going against second and third team offensive linemen, and he's getting worked. He looked bad. He sucked.
I know you were holding your breath all training camp long. So in the early parts of training camp, because the reports coming off first day 1, day 2, day 3, whatever.
Hey, it looked like Warren Sapp.
Kinlaw is just wrecking shop out there in training camp. He's doing this, and they're putting Kinlaw at defensive end, and Kinlaw saying he's versatile and he could do this and he could do that, and he's even looking good at defensive end. I didn't trash him.
I'm a freak.
I knew he said something like that. You knew the exact word. I forgot what it was, but it's like, okay, cool. I'm not gonna trash you because I know I didn't like the way you played last year, but I'm just gonna wait till you step in actual games, and then we're just gonna go from there. And if this is what we're gonna get from Kinlaw, he is not getting his 50-year option. Thank God we shelled out all that money for Javon Hargrave, who did sit out this game. Obviously, I get it, but you got a nice one. Go ahead, take care of that.
I always am surprised by these because I don't ever ask for them. I actually try to read comments if you don't pay. Frank Tom Ocean, I appreciate the $20 super. He says, thanks for the live stream, gentlemen. I have faith that we'll be okay. I need us to go to the Super Bowl so I can get my CMC Super Bowl patch jersey. You're the man, Aaron. I thank you very much.
There you go, Aaron. Getting some love.
I really appreciate that, by the way, Frank. I'm going to say I'm worried. Like the season isn't over yet. I understand that. But, you look at this backup defensive line and everybody's talking about this great depth that we have. I didn't see it at all. Nobody stood out in this game on that defensive line. Not one guy. Clelin Ferrell had 1 sack, but they were getting walled off. They weren't even touching the quarterback. So, and if you hear the reports that were coming out, this week with the practice, the Niners defensive line was getting work too in those practices.
I was hearing that too. I was hearing it. Yep.
So
yeah,
I'm not really like, I said this in the offseason and everybody's like, oh, we can't spend it every single position. Yeah, I understand that. But like, Bosa, Kinlaw. Yeah, right. Bosa, Armstead, Hargrave. And then what? Who's done anything in this league that's proved that they can be a valuable piece of this defensive line? Nobody.
It's a bunch of guys. It's a bunch
just
of
a
guys.
bunch of dudes, and everyone's like, even my own brother's like, your team's really good. You don't need to spend any more money. I'm like, yeah, you might have to, but they didn't. I don't know. Maybe
you're one injury away from sucking. That's all I got to say.
Right. I said in the offseason, I would like to see us get a guy opposite of Bosa just in case Bosa went down or Bosa is hurt. And with these holdouts that happen, a lot of times people get injured after they come back from holdouts because they haven't played any ball. So, man, like you said before the stream, there wasn't anything to really look at this stream and go on about.
Usually, I'm really prepared for my post game.
No, I'm not really super prepared either. I'm just beyond belief.
I mean, not today, but I mean, usually if I do
stream, this was
usually if I do a post game wrap up, I'm on my computer typing up notes and doing all kinds of stuff because I want to have ammo on my back pocket for the show. But this show, I mean, what was there for us to talk about? And I'm talking across the board. I mean, Panama Queens and chat. Go ahead.
Laura says she has a friend in the organization, and he says it's all good. We don't care if we win or lose preseason games.
Yeah, I mean that's usually the case with preseason. I mean, what Detroit? Some years the Detroit Lions were 4-0 in preseason games, and they didn't make the playoffs. So I get
the Queen is in the building. Panama Queen. I am not going to sing to you because my voice sucks, but you know what I'm trying to say. I appreciate you coming.
I don't do she's your queen to be. Is the one I do is Panama.
From Van Halen. That would be great.
Yeah. That's what I do.
Gucci Mane. I don't know. That's why I want to say your name like that. It says Lance is getting cut. I'm calling it. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. Gucci Mane.
We need that for the quarterback. Even if Purdy is a starter, you're gonna need.
He said Kyle Allen looks better. I don't think any of the quarterbacks look that great, to be honest with you. Like. Darnold looked okay.
Darnold had one pretty good throw.
Yeah, but the one to Ronnie Bell down the right sideline was a fantastic throw.
That was really, really nice. That was nice.
But then everybody just says the same thing about Trey. Like Trey has those throws that makes you go ooh whatever, right? But I'm okay with never seeing those. I'd rather see the consistent boring throws where it's 5-yard hitch, 5-yard slant, crosser, stuff like that's elementary to NFL football that the Raiders quarterback was hitting with his eyes closed. That's the stuff that I want to see. I don't give a rat's ass about a 45-yard completion downfield that was on a rope because everybody who plays NFL quarterback can make those throws from time to time. So I wasn't really impressed with anybody. I to be honest with you guys, not just Trey. I thought all the quarterbacks were So
how about when they lined up on Moody to kick that 57-yard field goal? What were you thinking?
I thought he was going to miss it. I thought he was bro, if there's one guy that's been banging the Moody train, it's me. Yeah, I'm pretty quiet right now. I know it's preseason and everybody's trying to make comparisons to the weirdo guy that kicks for the Ravens, that really odd looking kicker.
Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker can boot 65-yard field goals in practice.
This guy's an amazing, and wow.
I never thought he'd be Justin Tucker, but I thought he'd be nailing these field goals.
This man missed that 58-yard field goal. I made a TikTok. I said that thing. I didn't think it was ever going to land. That thing went. I mean, wow. And then in the post game, they're talking to him. I've never seen a more deer in headlights, completely unnerved kicker in my life. Dude looks scared. That's sad. Wow.
I don't know if Robbie Gould would have missed it that bad. That looked really bad when he missed it. I was like, what are we watching here? That looks terrible.
That looked like a Tiger Woods, one of those slices that he hits into the trees. That's what that looked like. That wasn't even.
I wasn't saying it was I wasn't thinking oh wow, he better hit this or else. I was thinking, okay, I know it's a long field goal. I get it. So I thought, okay, whatever. If he misses it short, no big deal. But it just looked like It looked like he didn't belong when he tried to hit that one.
If you watch the extra point, he almost missed that too.
Okay, I didn't notice that part.
It was far left.
I didn't notice
It
that.
barely made it in the uprights. He is unnerved by a preseason game.
Maybe he was just in his nervous feelings and his first time wearing an NFL uniform. And I mean, thank God it wasn't a real game and it was something we depend on. But no, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I've heard a lot of great things about him in camp, and I get that.
Me too. Me too. But I mean, man, that's unacceptable.
I mean, I wonder what Zane Gonzalez was thinking the whole time all that happened.
He might still have a job, and we're gonna redshirt Moody this year. That's
we're gonna. Oh, God forbid they do this. I was gonna say they're gonna do what they did.
We're gonna keep 4 quarterbacks, a kicker.
They're gonna do to Moody like what they did to Trey all these years. They dicked him around and redshirt. I was gonna say earlier, way back in the beginning, like you were saying, like developing Trey. My thing was if you get the quarterback and you sacrifice those picks and all that, then it's just you put your foot on the gas and go with it. If you got to trade Jimmy and get him away and bring in another veteran guy to back up Trey Lance, and do so, because from here on out, you're saying this is your guy and you're going with him. But we just kept pussyfooting around with Lance. We just kept pussyfooting around with him, pussyfooting around. Oh, no, we're going to bring Jimmy back. And now we're going to do the. I'm sorry, Kyle, you mismanaged the fucking situation. So that's how I look at it.
I want to take football and put it on the side for a minute. And I wanted to attack something that both of me and you both talked about off stream. Listen, if there's anybody who's lost their mind on social media and went a little crazy, you're looking at them, right? And I can't be, they say if you live in a glass house, if you're going to throw stones, I definitely live in a glass house. But there was I don't even know how to say this, but like everybody knows, where did Damon Bruce? Where did he work? Was it KNBR?
Okay. So for years he was on KNBR. I'm talking as far back as 2008, perhaps. Because I definitely remember him in 2009. Actually, he was there in 2008. I remember him in 2008, and right around that time he was building a pretty big name in KNBR. Maybe about 10 years ago. My timeline might be off, but he jumped over to 95.7 at one point in time, and he's there now. And he was their main guy at 95.7 the game. And he's a Chicago Bears fan. He's got a big mouth and he's got big opinions. And now he moved off of 95.7 the game. Not sure why they let him go, but that's a whole different story. But now he's on YouTube just like everybody else. And Rich Counts has a funny question in the chat. If I can just show it really quick. There's been plenty of rants, brother. And I thought I was going to rant
a little bit earlier, Rich.
There's been plenty of rants. So
it was only a couple F-bombs, not his usual like 10, 11, 12 in a row. It was like more like 4 or 5. So,
but Damon Bruce he's very successful and he's done a lot of great work. But you've always known how full this guy is. Just totally full of himself. I'm sorry. If you don't notice it, just go ahead and watch his podcast. You watch him for 20 minutes and you'll see it right there.
Yeah, there was two things. He attacked content creators. He was essentially saying that all of us who do this, whether we're me and Bash or we're some of the more successful guys like Jesse and Jackhammer and Jason Aponte, all those guys, that we're essentially all Grant Cohn wannabes, and that we have boring lives and we have nothing better to do than take the Trey Lance debate and make it our one and only thing that we ever talk about. Pretty much saying, don't listen to us, watch him. And I made a similar comment when I was in my feelings back in about April of just like, I didn't understand the whole YouTube game. But one thing you don't want to do is tell people not to watch other people. That's like, I saw Jesse Naylor's reaction. He said it was Bush League. I thought it was totally Bush League. And then to top it all off, he goes on this rant where he talks about using the quote unquote, the N-word, and saying he really doesn't have a problem using it because you use it, I use it, we probably use it in our private life. It's in the songs that you hear on the radio. Like, he was pretty much saying, go into his channel, go into his comment section, and just drop expletives, and it's okay. He's not going to do anything to you. Like that was. I'm not big on cancel culture, dude, but if there was one person I'd like to see be canceled right now, it's Damon Bruce. I mean, first you attack content creators, little piss ants like myself, who don't even make a dent in YouTube, and you're worried about our opinions. And then you come after, and after that, you go on and talk to people and tell them that it's okay to use the N-word, that that he probably uses it all the time, that he uses in his jokes. Like, I've never heard anything like that before. Like, even if that's how you really feel, Bash, wouldn't you keep it behind closed doors or off camera if you were just a blatant racist?
Well, with him, he has so much influence. He has such a big following. It's like if he truly feels that he says that word and he's not a racist, it's still completely irresponsible to go in front of all your viewers and say, "Oh, it's okay. We all say it. It's in all the songs." And I don't know what prompted him to make that rant. All I caught was that clip where he went on that stupid rant of his, and I didn't get it at all. And I still don't get where he and a whole bunch of other people who were agreeing with him. I saw people on Twitter literally just typing up comments and saying, "Good job, Damon Bruce. Yeah, power to the people," because all these guys do is follow Grant Cohn's narrative, and Grant Cohn's the puppet master, and he's pulling the strings, and all these content creators are just doing what Grant Cohn wants them to do. It's like, look, with all due respect to Grant Cohn, he does his thing or whatever. He does whatever he wants. And I watch some of his post-training camp videos. But then again, I just gather material from multiple sources. Let's just say that. But no way in hell I'm like looking at Grant Cohn like, "Oh, you're my source for material. And without you, I would never do content because I have no idea how to fucking talk about football otherwise." Like, I've been watching this game of football, I'm sorry, before Grant Cohn was probably even born. I'm fucking 47 years old, all right? Like I don't need to rely on him like these fuckers say that we have to rely on him. And all the content creators have this huge fucking agenda for clicks and likes to talk about Trey Lance. How many times did I start my shows where I was backstage and I was telling people, "Look, we've talked about this Trey Lance, Brock Purdy shit God knows how many fucking times, and I'm going to make sure that we really don't talk about it this show. Let's talk about the safeties. Let's talk about the wide receivers, D linemen, linebackers, and I'll have a whole game plan so we avoid that topic." And because I know it's been stretched like an old piece of gum. And then we got people trying to say that that's all we do and that's all we're doing because Grant Cohn's making us do it. Like what? Wow, you guys smoking crack? I don't get people sometimes, dude.
The thing he says, when he says that, like, we're all Grant Cohn wannabes. No, because Grant gets like, I don't know, 1,000 people watching him a stream. He's got over 50,000 subs. I don't even know. He could have more. Like, I'm a skid mark on YouTube. I'm the highway. I'm the skid mark on the ass of YouTube. Okay. Like, my channel doesn't make a dent. I got 6.2 subs. I might get 40 live viewers every 6 or 10 streams. Like, wow, that man does that in the first 2 minutes of his stream. You know what I mean? Like, if I was trying to be like Grant, don't you think I'd be a little bit more successful? Nobody's trying to be like Grant. Grant's his own thing. I used to call into his, it wasn't Instagram. It was the other one where he would have like a live stream and you could call in and do all
Discord.
that stuff.
He was on Discord for a bit.
Yeah. Or I would call, whatever I have feelings were Larry Krueger's, whatever. But like, I would call into I would, the red and gold rap and all that stuff. Like, I was a fan of these guys. And like, I never thought one time that I was going to create a YouTube channel where I was essentially trying to be like them. I'm not trying to be like anybody. So like that narrative is dog shit.
And for anybody doing content, creation, be yourself. Because nobody can be you but you. To quote Snoop Dogg, if you know what I'm talking about, I know what video I'm referring to. But it's true though. I mean, be you and do it for the passion. And that's the best advice I can give. And I'm pretty sure most of the people I've collabed with are themselves, and they don't try to be something they're not.
And you shouldn't just have great guests on. You should try to have normal people on too that do the same thing as you do.
You know what's funny? No? It was really funny. I was at Trader Joe's today, right after I got out of church, stopped by Trader Joe's about a couple of things. And one of the dudes, the Checkers, I hadn't seen him in a long time actually. And I don't go there every week or anything like that. But one of the dudes that works there is a big Niner fan, really cool guy named Skip. I don't know if he's watching. He's watched my channel a couple of times, but really cool guy. And I ran into him and just said, we were talking about the Niners really quick. And he was just saying that he watched me a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I told him I might go on live today, either on my channel or some other channel. He's okay. So yeah, man. Oh yeah, and another thing, you have great guests. And I was like, hey, I always do. I try to.
But
It's a little inside joke between Aaron and I. You guys
inside
probably don't get it.
joke.
You guys don't get it.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I have people that I've worked with or work with, or relatives, people that I knew since high school that know I have a YouTube channel. And listen, I might suck, but when people come on and they say, "Hey, listen, I don't know anything about football, but the fact that you're going on there and kind of doing that and being, having fun and being passionate with it, and they kind of see the way that a lot of us do things with our overlays and our microphones and our setups and stuff. Like, we try to make it look presentable. You know what I mean? Like, have a little bit of self-respect, even if we're not those guys. Those are the people that I like to listen to, because it's like, I didn't even think I mattered to half of those people. And it's nice to hear a compliment from just like a regular old person. No national person's ever going to notice. And well, they might notice some of us, but like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's for him to make that such blatant statement and they're like, oh, don't watch them, watch me.
Yeah, that's funny. That's
Yeah.
silly.
And then,
I'm shocked Damon Bruce did that. He's so well established and he's got this big name, this big reputation. He has a huge amount of followers, so he doesn't really need to say anything like that. But
like,
it felt like he had to.
I'm not a white knight. I'm not self-righteous. I mean, we're all self-righteous to an extent, I guess, but closet racists are real life racists. That's all I got to say. And if you hear it enough from somebody and then they try to tell you that they're not, they pretty much are. Like, that whole thing of having to explain, of using the N-word and try to make an explanation to make himself look less shitty as a person, just made him look worse. Like, it made him look so much worse. Like, just stop explaining yourself. What are you doing? Like,
And remember the last guy on YouTube who went on that rant about why he's mad that he can't say the word, or remember that other guy?
why do you want to?
Yeah, I know, it was so dumb.
Here's the thing, man. Like, hold on, I gotta. He says, I'm the Jimmy G of content creators. Hella is consistent, but kind of win when I'm in. Yeah, you're also you're good looking. You're a good looking lad too. So you got the Jimmy Chin with that perfectly trimmed beard of yours. So there you go. You definitely are.
A lot of girls who are Niner fans still love Jimmy. They still love themselves.
Yeah, they still love Jimmy. And I mean,
some of them can still differentiate how he looks in terms of the quality of play that he brings on the field. So I do respect that.
Yeah. I got into a conversation once with this one girl. One lady was on Twitter arguing with me about Jimmy Garoppolo. And I said, can I ask you a question? I said, if Jimmy Garoppolo was ugly as hell, and I gave an example of like someone he looked like, would you even be talking about him? Never responded. We were going back and forth like constantly. As soon as I brought up his looks and that if she would care about him if he was ugly, no response. So yeah, I don't care. But yeah, like, Damon Bruce, to me, I kind of understood at first what he was talking about making too much out of preseason. But the more I listened to the rant, I started realizing that he was kind of bashing some people. I didn't even realize that he said a whole lot more about content creators. And then the fact that, he had this whole, meltdown where he was essentially telling people it's okay to use the N-word because we all use it.
Not sure what prompted him to do that. Yeah, that's bad choice. Bad move on his part.
Yeah, when you see that side of people, and just know in their private life, they're shitty. They're not nice people. When that kind of stuff starts to spill over into a normal conversation, I mean, just imagine them behind closed doors. That's all I got to say. So yeah, respect.
Yeah.
Whatever general, respect I had for him.
I've seen him try to bully people in general. So I've always kind of known that he's kind of got this a-hole type personality. I saw it in him a long time ago. So.
He's not the only one that tries to bully people. They're just not acting like they're not racist, or well, I mean, at least not outright. But there's other people out there that are ex-radio guys who use their platform to kind of shit on smaller people. That's okay though. We're not for everybody. You can go watch them. That's fine. Nothing on here is going to move the needle to me to stop working. You know what I'm saying? I still have a full-time job outside of YouTube. So it's not like I'm making a living off of this. So I don't even know sometimes why we affect these guys so much that they even have to acknowledge our presence when they're making $10,000 to $12,000 a month off of YouTube and and all sorts of whatever stuff that they promote on their channel. Like, why does it even matter what I say or this person says? Like, shouldn't matter.
At the end of the day, though, like there's nothing wrong with people having different opinions as long as you're speaking from a logical perspective. And what Damon, we're talking about Damon Bruce, Central Valley Kings. He made some really, really terrible blanket statements. Anyways, I mean, it's like welcome free thinking in sports. I mean, do you really want it to be vanilla where we're all doing the same exact thing? We all have the same opinions. It would just suck if that was the case. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. There's what do they say? Variety is the spice of life. Isn't that the saying?
Like you're more of a Purdy guy than I am, and I'm more of a Trey guy than you are.
Right, but I'm essentially a Purdy guy, but I'm not a dick about it. Like, I don't come on here and tell people that Trey Lance sucks or that Brock Purdy is the second coming of Joe Montana. There's no way I even think like that. No way. Like, he does. First of all, the sample size is way too small. We saw this with Jimmy. We all fell into the trap with Jimmy. We watched those 5 meaningless games at the end of 2017. I fell for it. A lot of 49er fans fell for it. John Lynch fell for it. I don't think Kyle Shanahan ever fell for it. I think Kyle still thought he was ass, but and we were mistaken. We fell for it with Cap too. I loved Cap when I got his jersey up in my closet, and people could say, "Oh, you hate on Cap. You're this, you're that." Listen, I got a $300 authentic Kaepernick jersey in my closet, and I didn't start hating him because he was kneeling or any of that other stuff. He started to suck and he got progressively worse. That was it. The league caught on to him and he was never able to catch up to the league. Like you know what I'm trying to say, Bash, like the league got a book on him. They started to do certain things and he never was able to respond off of that. That was the reason that I felt the way that I did.
I was the same way, dude. I bought so much merchandise for Cap, you don't even know. And it's weird with this 49er quarterback thing. Ever since we lost Steve Young, it's like we had a small window with Jeff Garcia, and then that closed. But maybe we got 4 good years out of him, so to speak. And then this Kaepernick thing comes around, and maybe it's like 2 years that were good, and then things just started getting shittier, as the seasons went on. And to Cap's credit, he did lose. He didn't have the same teammates. He didn't have the same Harbaugh teams either.
I agree. That team imploded around him.
Yeah, a lot of things imploded around him. We get that part. I totally understand that. And when they say Cap went to work with them, Steve Young went off season, and the same off season he worked a little bit with Kurt Warner. I was like, oh wow, cool. This is gonna be so cool. Cap's gonna be even improved. But it was just like then all of a sudden upcoming in that same season, when he did start playing, he had those 2 pick sixes against the Cardinals. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And I'm not here to trash Kaepernick because he did a lot of really, really good things. But my point was, we have this weird thing with the Niners where we have this short shelf life with the quarterbacks, and it sucks.
And we buy into it every single time.
Mm-hmm.
The organization, we think they're the second coming, and they have disappointed us every single time. That's why I say hold your horses with Purdy. I may be more comfortable with him, but that could change. He could come out, start the season, and look really bad, and then all of a sudden we're in a bind. Because do you honestly, when you watch these quarterbacks today, can you honestly say that you'd be comfortable with any of those if Brock Purdy went down?
Today, I mean, I'm always gonna be biased towards Lance. I hate that. I hate the fact that I just would love to see Lance, with the first team guys, all the big playmakers, just to see what it looks like. And I never even seen. We kind of saw it against the Texans a little bit, but I mean, sure, Purdy looks really calm and collective out there. I mean, when he stepped in that Miami Dolphins game, he did. There were times where they tried to blitz him, and then he'd throw the ball and then dudes would just like be right in his face at the very end and he'd connect. He made some really, really nice plays where he was connected with guys in his face. And that was really nice to see because we had never really seen the guy. And I saw Purdy in the preseason. He didn't really impress me in the preseason. I saw what he did in college. I thought he was pretty good in college, but I just didn't think he'd step right into a game and, without practicing with the first team or anything like that and look the way he did. And he did a lot of good things. I did have my concerns towards the end when there were games where he was throwing near picks and they were dropped or whatever, or when the Cowboys were rushing him to one side and it looked like teams were kind of starting to figure him out a little bit. But and now my biggest concern with him is just the injury. So I don't know if he's going to be the same guy anymore. And that's why I'm against trading. If he is going to be the starter and they think he's better than Lance or whatever, at least keep Lance around just in case worse comes to worse. That's how I look at it as an insurance policy.
Right. Laura Cat said, I appreciate and respect different opinions that I don't like myself. I don't block people who may not share the same first take as you. Mad respect. The only time I ever block people is if they come at me personally. If they say something about, my family or, derogatory stuff. First of all, I'm not a racist person. And if you put anything like that in any of my comment sections, you're going to get blocked. Like, because I don't want anyone to associate me with that kind of crooked, mental satanic mentality. I don't like that, because that Damon Bruce thing really doesn't sit well with me. And another thing that doesn't sit well with me is I hate bullies, and that's the other reason that Damon Bruce stuff is I don't like people that bully people, and I don't like prejudice ass people who try to make it as it's okay to have that kind of mindset to talk derogatory about people, and then try to get you to kind of like wrap your mind around it and be okay with it. Like I'll never be that person. So, and if you want to say that I'm trying to be better than somebody, that should be life. You should try to be better than others. Be a better person. Rich Kelt says tank for Caleb Williams, but real deal Purdy might look like top 5 with this D scheme and weapons. He might. I think everybody needs to pump the brakes on even Purdy this year. I think Purdy's gonna be a little rusty coming out this season. I expect him to play a little erratic. I wish we would have played better tonight. I thought Trey Lance was going to come out and light it on fire, and that offensive line just didn't really give him a chance.
And where was Danny Gray? Was he injured? I didn't check.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Where's Danny Gray?
I wanted to see Danny Gray.
All this Danny Gray talk, and we got nothing out of it.
He's the guy who could run that big fly route, and Trey Lance can air it out if he has time, and that is. But I mean, he didn't have much time to throw a deep route today. That's for sure.
Well, they were trying to tried to get Lance on the move and started to get him on the move to start throwing, and he was looking a little bit better.
Yeah.
They're like, maybe he's not a pocket quarterback. He needs him.
I mean, who knows? Maybe his rookie year, if he faced the same BS that we saw today, he would have looked a lot worse. That's all I got to say. I mean, he did bounce back in a certain sort of way,
Listen, guys, there might be a chance that Trey Lance isn't the guy. There might be a chance that Brock Purdy isn't the guy either. The Niners, at some point from this point forward, might one day have to go the route of an experienced veteran quarterback and stop playing it safe. Because so far, the way that they try to do things since 2017 has resulted in them in being the runner-up or the runners-up runner-up. You know what I mean? Like they haven't crossed the finish line. So, until you do that, everything's on the table, including signing an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady and not sticking with Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, I like that we have a competitive team and that they're going to be there every single year. But I'm starting to understand the people who say they're sick of coming up short and they want the Niners to be like, are you really in this to win? Like, what are we doing here? So we'll see. Central Valley's Kings comments. Hold on 1 second.
Just this moment. I see your comment, Ken.
Central Valley King says it's embarrassing and disrespectful when Jesse Naylor from Last Second Sports accused 49er fans who want Purdy over Lance that some racism has something to do with it because they disagree. I've never seen that. there's always a possibility that is behind it. I mean, come on, guys. We live in a pretty shitty world. There's a lot of hatred and a lot of people that don't like people based on religious beliefs or sexual orientation or whatever. Do I think that there's some of that behind it? Yeah. Do I think it's predominantly what's behind it? No, I don't think so. I liked what I saw from Purdy last year, and until he plays crappy, I would like to see him keep being the quarterback. That's it.
And
That's exact.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Go
it.
ahead.
Go ahead.
I mean, maybe Jesse was meaning that towards a specific couple of people, because there are some jackasses on Twitter that if you go through their whole entire timeline,
Oh,
it's
of
all
course.
about they're trashing Trey Lance as a human being, and it's their whole timeline. It's like these guys are like demented, sick fucktards that spend their whole life on Twitter to trash a young man, and then they claim to be 49er fans. Well, this guy does play for the 49ers. If you don't hate, I don't know these, and whenever you say, "Well, you're a Lance hater," I'm not a hater. Oh, you might be racist. I'm like, "Oh, I'm not racist." I'm pretty sure Jesse only meant that for about 3 or 4 individuals. He wouldn't just.
Right.
I'd be shocked if Jesse went out of his way to just blanket all Purdy supporters like that, because that's not who Jesse is, man. I don't know how long you've known Jesse. I've talked to Jesse on the phone multiple times. He's not made like that, dude.
I have learned from personal experience, because of my issues sometimes with 49ers content creators months ago, because I thought there was like a conspiracy to keep the smaller channels down or whatever, and I was 100% wrong. He's not that guy. He's a good guy. People who meet him say he's a good guy.
Go ahead.
I've said some pretty crappy stuff and been very judgmental towards people, and they've forgiven me for me having a big mouth, and for me that means a lot. So I don't think he's that kind of person. Kenny says that my honest opinion is Trey looks slow on reads and tells me he still doesn't know the plays. Otherwise, he would automatically know where to get the ball. To me, he did look. I saw that on some plays. He looked like a step late. I don't know if he processes it on the field. Like, does he see it quickly? That's the one thing about Purdy. That's the one thing about Purdy that I enjoy, is he hits that back foot and that ball's out. It's out. No double clutching. Like, the double clutching thing drives me insane. Like, even if you're going to throw an incompletion, get rid of the football. Because then all of a sudden you just walk into sacks when you do that all the time. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'll tell you. We were talking about offensive line early in the game. You know who was driving me crazy? Because I really wanted to see Trey Lance ball out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, if you're taking the snap and it's like 1.5 seconds and boom, it's terrible. And I know that, and I mentioned it earlier. There were times, I agree with you. There were times where Trey maybe could have made the move before he should, and he didn't make that move. It was a little hesitant. I understand. Again, I was mentioning earlier, I didn't see the all 22, so I don't know what read he could have made and where he could have thrown it to and who was open, who wasn't open. I don't know that part about it, but it just looked like, we can only go off of what we see. So it is what it is. Rohan's in the chat. What's up, Rohan?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you coming through. He must have put like an emoji on screen, because anytime you put an emoji on screen,
it's an emoji. It's like it's a blue peace sign, double blue peace. Yeah. I only went to training camp one day, and I didn't get to run into Rohan, unfortunately, because I was on the completely opposite side. But maybe one of these days I'll be able to run into the guy.
Yeah, Rohan was I think he was at every day of training camp. We had a really good contingent of 49er content creators that were at there. And I got to say, for the most part, everybody was pretty fair. There is some, and I'm not knocking them, that love Trey Lance, and some of their reports were a little bit, even if Brock did play bad or practice bad, it was like, anytime you see somebody throw like a zinger in there, it's like, okay, you could have done that. You could have told the same report without a zinger. See, the zinger kind of tells me where your head is at. You know what I mean? So, leave the zinger out. Just give me a report, and then I'm cool. But like, anytime you throw like something, just a knock on the guy, then I know your head is like a little bit, one way or the other. I appreciate that, Celts. Yeah, like I said, I'm no person to ever be self-righteous, because I can be a little bit of a spaz ass about stuff. I'm a very emotional person. But You can't encourage people to be racist and say it's okay because we all say it.
That was, I don't know
That's
what
garbage.
was thinking when he did that. It was so stupid.
My whole thing too with people is if guys and gals, if you don't like what you're seeing on Twitter, block them. Block them. If somebody's really pissing you off and they're really that disgusting of a person, the one thing they want is attention. Don't give them attention. Report them if they say something that's, out of pocket or it's threatening or they're saying they're going to hurt somebody or be violent or kill somebody, or if they're, racist or they're, bigoted or whatever. Report that and then just block their ass. To sit there and go back and forth with it and have, 2.5, 3 day shouting matches on Twitter with these people is pointless. That's what they want. So just block their ass. People block me. So like, if you don't want to see my negative ass responses to the 49ers, just unfollow me and block me. I'm totally okay with it.
Yeah. Well, I was mentioning Grant Cohn earlier. My thing is like the people who complain about Grant Cohn so much. It's like you're bringing up things from his YouTube channel. So you're watching his YouTube channel. If he bothers you that much, what are you watching for? I'm not going to name names, but there's a few people who are on YouTube. Guess what? I don't watch them and they cover the Niners, but I'm not going to sit there and type up paragraphs about them day in and day out and say they're terrible and they suck. Because I don't know how bad they are really currently, because I made it a point not to watch those people. That's my thing. Kenny did make a funny little quote here really quick. I just want to cover it. He said Jake Moody kicks like booty. It was funny because when Moody kicked that 57-yarder and he whiffed it hella bad, I tweeted, Moody got me moody.
That was bad. That was really bad. Rich says, in my opinion, I don't think Trey cares as much as he used to and is content for our next chapter. I'd be pretty chill smashing in a Bentley.
He has a Bentley? Is that what you're talking about, or what?
I think he's referring to the fact that Trey Lance just, maybe he's not as invested. Maybe he's kind of moved on mentally.
I'm not sure. But he was pretty, he's pretty determined in terms of working on his craft before training camp started. And then when they had that little break in between, he still went back to Christensen and worked on it. So I don't know. I think he might be just pissed off in terms of how things are being handled when he's not getting a certain amount of reps like he should. Like I mentioned on Friday where he had 2 reps or whatever. Maybe he's just not happy with certain things in regards to situation. Who knows?
Yeah, you're right. He comes off like a guy that doesn't speak up for himself. I don't know if you get that vibe, like pound the table. Like
he's got a quiet little personality to him. I noticed that.
Yeah, like some people sometimes have to break out of that shell, and become more dominant and be assertive on whatever they're doing in life instead of being a passenger with what's going on. And I think one of the things that people draw to Brock is this little undersized, weak-armed last pick in the draft quarterback, but he's fiery as hell. He was ripping on freaking one of the last training camp days or one of the practices. He was yelling at freaking Danny Gray because Danny Gray, I think, ran the wrong route, and he was screaming at him. And there was just they have different personalities. And I don't know, maybe Trey has to get pissed and start using that side of it. I don't know, because being always okay to get yelled at by coaches or just accepting that it was your fault on a play. And maybe sometimes you need to speak up and fight back. And I hope maybe.
You want him to do what Steve Young did to George Seifert on the sidelines of the Philly game?
Hell yeah.
Where Steve Young was going to fight George Seifert?
No, well, when I saw that clip about him saying that he wanted to fight George Seifert, that's me totally. I would be the guy in the background flipping out, screaming at him. He says, I was looking for a fight. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Get the stepping.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've been called out on YouTube before.
Can I ask you a question? I want to ask you this question. I was going to add something to what you were talking about, but really quick before I do that. And I'm not going to keep talking about training camp, but I was at training camp, and if you saw my Instagram, social media, Twitter, or whatever,
it was great. It was great. You had like every awesome person you could possibly have in a picture.
Exactly. And I thanked Laura Cat. She hooked me up with a VIP to get there and meet everybody, and that was cool. But I'll say I met Trey Lance really quick. I talked to him for a second. I met Purdy. So both really nice guys, both really good guys. So people won't ever want to say I'm a Purdy hater. There's no way in hell I could hate Purdy. All right, I just don't. I would never have any personal hate for him. I just think that as fans we have every now and then, especially with the quarterback position. I'd say maybe second position is probably running back, but it's more so quarterback than anything because quarterback is king. There's always that little preference that you may have for somebody in regards to skill set or potential or their ceiling or whatever. And they're just both really good young guys. And Talanoa, I can go down the line of people like that. Talanoa Hufanga was super nice. John Lynch, I bet really quick. Jesse Sapolo, I talked for a good period of time. Actually, he was super nice.
Awesome.
Finally got to meet him. Fred Warner was super cool. And all these guys took their time to take pictures and do whatever. So it was cool. But really quick, I mean, let me ask you this, because people brought this up before, and people will make statements on it, and we're never gonna know. But I want your opinion. Had Kyle drafted Patrick Mahomes, do you think he'd be the same Mahomes that we see in Kansas City, or do you think it would be different?
I don't know if Kyle could have handled a guy like that. Kyle is a control freak who is the alpha male in the relationship. And I'm not necessarily saying that Patrick Mahomes is an alpha male personality, but his play on the field is alpha male. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody like Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. I don't know if Kyle Shanahan will ever be good enough to put his pride aside and let a quarterback kind of outshine him. So honestly, Bash, I don't know. I don't know if he would have been as good.
We're never gonna know. And another, I hate to be the guy, but like Mahomes was the quarterback I wanted to draft in that draft too, and I wanted him more so than the other guy, Deshaun Watson or whatever. To be honest with you, but I thought we were gonna be lucky enough to get Mahomes in like round 2 had we went that route. But when I saw him get drafted like in the first round, I was like, damn, really? Teams were that high on him? Okay, guess we had no chance in hell of getting him. And again, I was excited too, though, because we got Reuben Foster. That was the other guy I wanted to get, but we don't know how that went. Yeah.
People, I will say this. If the 49ers fall short and Brock Purdy's a quarterback, or we have some sort of issues again with injuries, be prepared for Kirk Cousins to be the quarterback next year for the 49ers. Just putting it out there. Because Kyle has been a long-distance love affair with this guy for a really long time. So it's only a matter of time. I would hate it, and I don't think he'd be any better than Jimmy in big games. In fact, I think he'd be worse. So, yeah, there's that. Go ahead.
I had to drop something in the chat because it's like, look, sometimes the ball bounces your way in football. He's saying, Lance, the only touchdown he threw because it was supposed to be an interception. Well, I remember watching a football game where Joe Montana threw to John Taylor and in a playoff game, and it was supposed to be picked off, and the ball bounced in John Taylor's hands, and it was a dropped interception. So are we going to take that one away too and say, fuck you, Joe Montana, that touchdown doesn't count? Answer that question for me. I mean, come on, dude. Let's be real here. Every now and then things may bounce your way, and there's some luck involved.
I think a lot of people are going to argue that with Montana's body of work says it all, and that one mistake here and there does not justify going one way or the other with particular player. You know what I mean?
I know, but I mean, we all know what Trey had to work with tonight in this game, man. It was just pathetic. Barely having any time to throw. I mean, wasn't getting any help from the run game. The O-line was what they were.
You're right. Nick
Zakelj was getting bulldozed so damn much in that early in that game. It was just ridiculous. I was like, this is the guy that we were grooming last year.
Yeah, the Niners need a new offensive line coach. I think Forrester might be on the booger. He might be on the booger sugar again. Kelts says might as well trade 5 first round for Kills. I don't want another rookie quarterback on this team.
Hey, but let me tell you this though.
No,
I don't. Dude, if Cousins is a top 5 guy, I can say, okay, fine. Let's watch. I can live with it. Okay, we're gonna wash we're gonna trade Lance and get rid of him and say sayonara. We're gonna, have Purdy as the backup or whatever, or one of those guys the backup. Who knows? And Cousins is a top 5 quarterback. Let's do it. Let's go. But to me, no. I do not want Cousins here. I don't know. Do you see him as an upgrade? Because I know he can throw the deep ball, and I love the deep ball, but I I don't know. This Cousins thing does not excite me. Somebody help me out here. Somebody explain to me why I'm
I feel
wrong.
like he's a stat patter. I feel like he plays with really good weapons. He's a stat patter, but what have they done in the playoffs with him? What have they done? They've done nothing since he's been in Minnesota. A big fat Minnesota, a big fat zero. So, yeah. Kenny says I wasn't impressed with anyone to play today. Yeah, I'm right with you, brother.
I cannot say this guy's name for the life of me.
I'm just going to go with X.
Is this a nickname or is this your real name? If this is your real name, I'm not trying to trash you with it. Like, let me know what ethnicity that is. That's just a very unique spelling.
Yeah, it is a very tough name.
Yeah,
to say.
I thought I was good with names, but that name's throwing me off.
He says Cousins is not consistent either, though he shines in moments. But like Rodgers, he can be game planned against.
Oh, okay.
Just his YouTube name.
Yeah,
Cousins doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry.
If they said Josh Allen next year, fuck yeah, let's bring in Josh Allen. He's a Niner fan. Let's do this. I don't know. Cousins, where's the excitement?
Kel says, hell no. His wife dresses him.
Really? Is that what it is? Is that what they said on that Netflix special?
Like a nerd. He dresses like a nerd. Like Homer Simpson with the nerd. Sorry, I had to do it. He looks like a toolbox. No, thank you. That's why I hope Purdy, if he's going to be the guy, he's the guy, because then he's cheap and we can afford him a couple more years. Same with Trey Lance. I want someone in building to be the guy.
In-house is a nicer route, in my opinion. But
yeah, I don't want to have to go look outside again. But if it comes down to that, and there's somebody available, maybe next year or the year after, why not? Hey, the Niners were in on Matthew Stafford before the Rams came in.
We would have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
we would have won the Super Bowl.
Guys and gals, in this offense with our weapons, Matthew Stafford would be like God tier. Think about that. Is he kind of inconsistent and all that? And he's, would you consider him elite? Probably not, but he's a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League.
That year alone, I would have went for it. If we just went all in on that 1 year and just won, the Rams were in the NFC Championship game because of Matthew Stafford, and then we would have taken that element off of their team. I mean, we would have blown the doors off the NFL that year. And I had idiots yelling and screaming at me in 49er chat groups and conference calls or whatever when we were rumored to possibly get Matthew Stafford that he's a loser. He's from the Detroit Lions. He's a loser. We should never get him. And Jimmy G's our guy. I'm like, look, he's an upgrade from Jimmy G. The Detroit Lions are a trash organization. The Detroit Lions are a loser. Barry Sanders retired way too early from that organization. Calvin Johnson did the same thing. And it's this guy. We could have won the Super Bowl had we had Matthew Stafford. I mean, he should thank his lucky stars that he walked away from them when he did, because he would have been deemed as a loser playing for a trash organization. And had we had him, man, easy Super Bowl, and we probably would have won 2 Super Bowls with him, for all I know.
I'm gonna call you X because I don't know how to pronounce your name.
X.
He says we looking for a one and done QB or a dynasty. That's
I think Stafford would have gotten us at least 2. To be honest with you, that's how I do
too. I do too. I mean, the Rams the next seasons, and but sometimes but they got the ring. The Niners, that's like the most frustrating part of this is you want your team to be there every year and have a chance, but eventually you want them to cash in. Like, are they ever going to cash in? I keep telling all these different content creators that I'm talk to, like Raj and Beto and the guys from NWO and this person and that person. Like, I told that to even DeBreezy. I was like, are we going to be the answer to the like question of like a 30 for 30 of the 49ers team that could never win it, and it'll be part of like some documentary? Like, I don't want to be that team. I'd rather us go and get a quarterback.
Think about all the F-ups and screw-ups and NFC Championship games that we've done, and then those 2 Super Bowls on top of that. It's just They could make a 30 for 30 right now. Why wait? What are they waiting for? It sucks. We got to seal the deal some way, somehow. Right. And you were talking about pass rusher Ngakwe. He's on the Bears now. I would have totally taken that.
That's
and I know I want to see Drake Jackson succeed. I like him, but you put Ngakwe on this defense, please, man.
I just want Nick Bosa signed, but yeah, dude, like I was banging the table all off season and in the preseason that we could go and get another edge rusher, and they did nothing. They might listen. I can't
Clelin
stand
Ferrell and Austin Bryant. Hey.
I mean, I know you can't spend at every position, and that you have to be cheap in some spots on your team, but there's one spot you can't be cheap on your team, and that's offensive line. You can't be cheap on the offensive line. So
I don't want to talk about that again because we already talked about it so much.
Rich says we are lightweight like the Bills of the early 90s.
Yeah, you live in Bills country too.
And I live in Bills country. You want to know how messed up Bills fans are with losing all those Super Bowls, Rich? When the season ends, they put away all their gear. Like, you wouldn't know somebody's a Bills fan in the offseason. They're so traumatized by losing 4 Super Bowls in a row. Like, I wear my 49ers stuff literally 6 out of 7 days a week. I got something 49ers on all the time, every day. And I always got a hat. Bills fans, season's over. All the jerseys are gone. And then like Laura Cat says, Bills Mafia, as soon as that season starts up again, they start talking all their S, like every time, and getting on there. One of them said something about they were glad the Niners got eliminated from the playoffs last year. And I was just like, so I attacked one of them. I was like, listen, I was like, we didn't have our quarterback in the NFC Championship game. I was like, you got your quarterback, and you still, like, I went at it with them. I was like, this is ridiculous. This has to be stopped. But yeah, Bills fans they're the most fair weather fan base. They're loyal during the season, but they're fair weather as hell.
I wear my stuff year round. I've worn my stuff year round in the most dismal of 49ers seasons.
The year we lost Super Bowl to the Chiefs, the next day I was wearing my Niners gear.
There you go.
I went to a doctor's appointment. People are like, oh, sorry your team lost. Yeah, me too. And then I looked at the person, I think it was a doctor's husband. I said, I'll never stop repping, ever.
You're one of the better content creators when it comes to Niner gear too. You're always coming fitted and,
Well, like I told everybody, I got a big head, right? And I got a big forehead. So the best way to cover that is fitteds. See? Now nobody knows.
If we could only, I've told this to Ted, man, I got to get you fitted on one of these type of hats. He says he can only wear visors, and the hats that he puts on are too small for his head. I'm like, dude, you got to get the right size, and it'll fit you more than it'll just do you right, man. That's all I gotta say. Shout out to Ted though. Ted's awesome. Finally got to meet Ted. You mentioned Breezy. Finally got to meet Breezy. Finally got to meet John Chapman. I had so much fun that Monday. It was really, really cool.
He's like, now we all know, bro. What, that I got a big dome? Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Listen, if you're going to have a big head, at least be like a big fat guy or a big guy and not be like a really skinny person with a big head. So I'm okay with that. If I would have been
like Pac-Man.
Yeah, like there's tall, skinny guys that I see sometimes, and their heads are like pinheads on a really small body with like a really skinny neck. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'll take the double chin,
Okay, Aaron, I got a question for you. This is very random. Who do people, friends or people you grew up with, coworkers or whatever, are there like one or two people that people would always say that you look like or you resemble? And are they usually like, okay, cool guys? Like, I don't think I look like him, but cool. I like that person as a celebrity or whatever, and I respect him. Or do they ever say that you look like somebody that you can't stand and it's really, really offensive and like, hell no, I don't look like that fucking guy? Like,
I was told that I look like Macklemore for a while. I was told that I look like Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah, I could kind of see that.
I was told that I look like Bill Burr, especially when he had red hair and it was like because he had a big old forehead. Yeah,
he shaves his head now. I love Bill Burr. Hilarious. Bill Burr's amazing.
That's my dog right there. You know what I love about Bill Burr is his comedy can come off a little bit like, ooh, you shouldn't have said that, but it's all true, all of it. You know, I'm not big on comedians that swear a lot. I like guys like Sinbad that are not constantly having to drop f-bombs through their whole routine. But I do like.
I'm surprised you put me on the show. Then I cuss a lot.
You do cuss a lot. I cuss a lot too. You should see me when I'm watching games or playing like video games and I'm having a hard time. But I'm getting better. I'm getting better because as you get older and you realize that when you break stuff, there's a good chance you might break yourself because you're fragile. You tend not to want to do that anymore. Rich says, I lived in Oregon-Washington border for a year. It was so fun wearing. Wait, what? I was so fun wearing Niner gear. Folks in the grocery store looked at me like I was the devil. That is, oh man. Being in Seattle Seahawks country, I give you that.
But I heard there's so many Niner fans in Oregon at least. Oh, but you said the Washington border, though. I get that. And then you mentioned Macklemore. Macklemore's a Seahawks fan. Yeah, so I wouldn't want to be compared to a Seahawks.
I was also said that I look like. Do any of you? You guys are gonna laugh. Did any of you watch the show in the early 90s called Clarissa Explains It All?
I remember the show.
She had the kid Ferguson that used to always come up through her window. That's people say I look like him.
I'm literally looking up who this Ferguson cat is.
Ferguson, Clarissa Explains It All.
Okay. He's a redhead. You know what's funny? Because I grew up as a redhead too, and I don't have a full head of hair like I used to, but the bullshit that I used to get, or I still do get from time to time, is whenever somebody has red hair, somebody will tell me, "Oh yeah, he looks like you. Oh yeah, he looks like you. Oh yeah, you look like him." It's like, dude, if you dyed my hair black, would you say I look like him? It's like the only common denominator is that we have red hair. My brother, God rest his soul, he used to actually say that about me and Bruce Miller, former 49er fullback, and I don't think I look like Bruce Miller, but I'll go through the people who people say that I think it's like, I don't think I look like these people so much, but I get it. I kind of get it why they bring it up. So I'll go through the list. Okay. So I mentioned Bruce Miller. My brother used to say that all the time.
Bruce.
But, yeah. I just thought it was funny when he'd say that.
Bruce Willis.
No, Bruce Miller. Bruce Miller, former.
Oh, I thought you said Bruce Willis.
The fullback, our old.
No, I know who he is.
Yeah. Our old fullback. Yeah, the guy got in trouble for punching out a fucking senior citizen or something. That was crazy.
What a bitch.
Okay, so one of them is Michael Rappaport. I think it was more so in his younger days when he had more full red hair, and now he's kind of got that weird, like, decaying blondish looking hair, and he looks really weird when he gets in front of the camera and goes, if you think I cuss, you should see his videos on Instagram where he's yelling, screaming in front of the camera. Michael Rappaport was one of them. Then when the Sopranos became big, people would say Tony Soprano. That's another one. Another one. In recent years, 49er fans would say Daniel Brunskill. I'd get that. So
I can see that a little bit.
And then the one that pissed me off, and I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm going to mention anyways just for fuck, because I don't give a fuck. And the one I had a couple of coworkers that used to say this. They used to say Shrek. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, really, Shrek? A damn cartoon character, damn ogre? All right, yeah, sure. Oh yeah, I look just like him. Hey, separated at birth. But there you go. I threw it out there. So.
Another person, somebody said I look like in the early 2000s, being a 49ers fan, in the early 2000s, I owned a couple of Jeff Garcia jerseys. So sure enough, I had this one friend named Blake. He looked like Ice Cube. So I always used to call him Ice Cube. I'd be like, shut up, Ice Cube. And he always told me that I look like Jeff Garcia because I used to shave my head really short. And I'd have the Garcia thing, and having a big ass forehead. You know how Garcia was balding, right? So big head, big forehead.
I'd love to see you wear a Jeff Garcia jersey.
I had a Jeff Garcia jersey.
You probably look like him.
And I did look like Jeff Garcia when I was younger.
You should have took a picture.
I looked like such a bitch back then. I was so skinny. Oh man. I mean, that's when I got all the ladies though. So apparently, chicks like skinny guys.
Aaron gets the ladies when he's skinny.
Ever since I've turned into a chubby chaser, a chubby guy, I don't get it anymore. Oh, here we go. Remember Ricky Schroeder? I used to get compared to him often when I was a kid.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He aged really bad. He aged really bad. If you want to look,
him.
Oh, he looks rough. He looks like he's 65, 70 years old now. There was a picture of him exposing how Hollywood is like really gross and stuff. You know, a lot of the people that are talking about how Hollywood has become kind of a place for like a lot of misconduct. Yeah, he put up this video like on Instagram or Twitter. I'm like, geez, dude. Him and the one who played the sister.
I see him. I see him now.
Yeah, it looks like he did some hard drugs. Him and the one who played the sister on Family Ties, Justine Bateman or whatever her name was. Dude, I mean, I'm not gonna hate for people looking old, but they look older than their age, so that's crazy. Maybe that's why I'll just stay fat and I don't have to worry about wrinkles for a while. Yeah. Damn, son.
Ricky Schroeder's seen better days. Poor
Ricky Schroeder.
Yeah, man, that's yeah. I was gonna ask if he looked as wrinkly as the guy on Cobra Kai, you know, but he looks worse, I think. Yeah.
You know who looks really old for their age too is he played in Lost Boys, and he was one of Elliot's he was one of the friends in E.T. I forget his name. He's an actor who looks really old for his age too, and he's got a really gravelly voice.
Yeah, I think Schroeder probably did a heavy amount of drugs after seeing that picture. He just looks, for 53, he looks like 75 or 78. Yeah, he looks really bad.
When I was a little bit skinnier, and I was, I had some girls used to tell me that I didn't look like I was in my 40s. Like they'd ask me my age, and I'd be like, oh, I'm 40. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you don't look that. I'm like, well, I am. I still feel it, or I actually feel it. So he was the older brother in E.T. No, not the older brother. Although he looks pretty rough too. No, he's one of the friends. He was one of the friends. He played in the movie Lost Boys. I forget his name. But anyways, some people look really old for their age.
I looked up a name, Henry Thomas. Is that who you're talking about, the Lost Boys guy? Because he seems to be
Henry
a pretty
Thomas. Henry Thomas was the E.T.
Oh, that is him.
He was
wow.
Henry Thomas was the one who played Elliot.
That is him. You're right. I see him. Oh, okay. There you go. He still has a pretty extensive acting resume. Okay. Interesting.
The guy, I can't remember the guy, but nobody cares. Here, let me look at. Give me a second.
Okay. I'm just gonna glance through the comments. Says he's asking about the ET thing. John V's loving the whole Shrek thing.
C. Thomas Howell.
Oh, I know who that is. By name, I know who he is at least.
C. Thomas Howell looks really old for a guy being in his early 50s. He looks pretty rough.
Yeah.
He was gonna be picked for Marty McFly because they couldn't get Michael J. Fox when they were casting for Back to the Future. We're just talking about random ass stuff now.
Yeah, it's pop culture right now because we covered so many things within the 49ers circle.
Yeah, the preseason game was so doo-doo that we're sitting here talking about actors that look like they did crack when they were, the last couple.
Yeah, drugs. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So Ricky Schroeder's trying to expose Hollywood, huh?
Yeah.
There's a lot of crazy, creepy things that go on in Hollywood, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of pedos in Hollywood, man. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, it is. It's very scary.
I'm glad I didn't grow up. I mean, I would have loved to have been an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Or a stage actor, because I like to be the center of attention, and I do memorize things when I like them. Like when I watch Back to the Future, any of them, I could pretty much. People are like, shut up, man. Like, stop interrupting this.
You sit there and mimic all the lines.
Yeah, they're like, dude, shut up, man. Like, that used to happen in school, or I would like know stuff, and people are like, dude, you're ruining it for everybody. I'm gonna punch you in the face.
People used to get mad at me. I used to do that too. I used to ruin things for people.
Well, folks, I think we're gonna get out of here. Been about an hour and a half. We spent the last 15 minutes talking about anything but the 49ers.
It's been a while since we collab, man. I love the way we jive back and forth unscripted.
Well, me and you are like this when we're in person. I say something ridiculous. You're like, wait, let me look it up. Really? Yeah, it looks like blah, blah, blah. Or the pizza from this place sucked. Hold on, let me go to the reviews. Like, that's how.
Oh, if somebody brings up a pizza place, I always have to read the reviews and look at the pictures.
Like me and you were in the same area, we'd be hanging out all the time. And
I'd be making pizza. We watch Niner games.
Me and you would get even fatter. We would be humongous.
It'd be like 500 pounds a piece.
We'd both be driving those motor cars that you see those people on like those shows. It'd be like me and my 500-pound friend or something.
Like when you go to Walmart, they have those little thingies you ride or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, me and Bash are like, but we love pizza.
Separated at birth.
Oh man. All right. Well, I feel like it's a good time to cut it off. Hopefully the Niners can give us something to be happy about next week. Like it's really hard. It's really hard to feel happy about anything. But you know, it's only the preseason.
So happy.
Anything you want to say? Anything else about the game, or are you pretty much
I'm done with this game. I'm looking forward to see what we can do next week. Hopefully, we actually have an O-line that looks like they're ready to play next week. If Lance says for everybody that steps out there, let's put up some damn points on the scoreboard. Let's hit the quarterback. Let's get the run game going. Let's get everything going. I hate the Rays, and I know this game doesn't count, but this is ridiculous. I did not want to see
when it mattered last year.
I know we did, but for us to get blown out by the Raiders, come on, that's ridiculous.
I know, but hey, well, what do you say? Well, you can always rely on Aaron for a compliment.
I don't know what he means by that. I don't. What, do you give out a lot of compliments or something, or?
I don't do. Are you being facetious with that?
I'm not sure what he means by that. Oh, Dave McNider's here. Cool, man. Good to see him.
It's cool to have John V in here, though. John V, I think I met someone who's even more passionate than me when he watches games.
I think John V can probably is worse than me when it comes to yelling and screaming and being mad about the 49ers. And I thought I was pretty bad.
I'm half Sicilian. He's got Greek in him. It's in our blood, dude. We're freaking psychos. Why do you think those soccer games always turn into riots all the time and the stadiums break and the railings fall over? And we can eat pizza and be fat together. Well, I mean, it's, yeah, that sounds a little judgmental. Me and Bash both know that we probably stop eating pizza for like a month or two, maybe. But hey, if I can't joke about me and my friends, who can, right? So, all right, everyone. Everybody have a great rest of your night. We'll see you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow with Niners Coast to Coast. You got anything going on this week, Bash, before we go?
Nothing set in stone. I might be doing something with Mariah and Ryan on Tuesday. So, but yeah, I've hit up some people to be featured guests. So I just have to nail down the dates. And I did a really, really nice show. Yesterday, actually, we debuted a music video it's called Everywhere We Go. If you guys want to check out the replay, feel free to check it. I got a lot of good feedback from last night's show. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. I caught a little bit of it, but sometimes when you stream, I'm either I am streaming or it's after my bedtime.
I know you're not on my chats anymore. What's going on, man?
There's only 70,000 channels that I have to pay attention to.
You're watching Grant. That's what it is, man.
No, definitely not. I can say with the confidence that I don't watch Grant. I respect his grind, but that's pretty much it. All right, everyone. Have a good one. We'll see you guys later.
Adios.